Good morning, it's turned out nice again. Motherfuck, it's Tuesday, the 10th of March 2020, and you're watching KopTalk.tv. Alright. Don't forget, there will be a new KopTalk podcast episode out today. Alright, guys? And the Dunk Knows Best podcast as well. I'd love you to subscribe to them both. You find them on Spotify, Deezer, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, any podcast app really. Just search KopTalk or just search Dunk Knows Best. I'd love you to get involved. And I'll be live this evening on here on KopTalk.tv at around 8 p.m. UK time, I think it is. I'm going to watch the Spurs game, so join me for a natter about LFC and anything else that we want to talk about. Right, so we've seen these new quotes come out from Timo Werner, right? As far as I'm concerned, he can go and himself. Do you know what I'm saying? I've got to be careful with the swear words. I keep getting told off by YouTube. They keep sending me these emails going, so I'm going to try. I really wanted to say, because he's triggered me. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not impressed. Now, if you haven't, I think you should go and read the article on KopTalk personally, KopTalk.com. It's on the front page at the moment, and the reason I would suggest that is because sometimes when I talk, I waffle on and I veer off and I forget what I'm going to say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with his quotes, right? I'm going to stick with his quotes, and the reason I say that is because sometimes text around an article or text around quotes in an article can influence you. You know, a journalist can make something sound positive or negative. It can influence your way of thinking. So let's just start with his quotes. At this time, in professional soccer, there are two different variations. The first is to be part of a team like Liverpool or Manchester City. They have a good working team. The teams have also great coaches. But this is the question. Do you want to go to that kind of team because the situation is already that hard for each member and you want to be a part of it? That's one point you have to look at. The other side are teams which need some big changes because they just won a few big titles but they are not able to compete at the highest level anymore. For me, Manchester United is one of these teams. So at this point of my career, I'm asking myself, do I want to be part of a new team to build up something new, or do I want to stay at my team and make something great? Now, you may recall some quotes from Jurgen Klopp last month where he said, it's easier if players see you as that, doing well. If they see you are successful, it's easier to get into talks with players. But on the other side, it's more difficult the better your team is because they ask questions like, where and when would I play? We need players who want to be part of this, who want to fight for their spot, who want to make the next step together with us, who want to develop and improve. So that's it. We have these players, and whoever wants to join us needs to have exactly this kind of attitude. Now, at the time, I suggested that was Klopp sending out a signal to Buggerlugs, right? It just sounded like he was speaking to Werner. That's something that he maybe wasn't getting the right vibe. We know that Werner has got reservations about time, his availability, not availability. What's it? You know what I mean, guys? Game time, basically. Where would I fit in, etc., etc. Now, first of all, I find his comments about that rather defeatist. You know, because if you're such a good player, you're going to go to a club, whoever the club is, and you're going to prove yourself, and you're going to make it difficult for the manager of that team to exclude you from his team selection. So giving it I'm not sure if I get. It's like, well, first of all, you sound defeatist. I'm not really sure I want that kind of attitude in my team. Do you know what I mean, guys? So that's annoyed me. Secondly, he's obviously annoyed me mentioning the likes of Manchester United. Now, what you might have seen this week as well is that the local media on Merseyside, they obviously often convey the club's views to the public. They've backtracked a little bit, I think, this week. Excuse me, I've just had a cup of coffee. Tea. I've got to be specific. I could have lied and just continued with that, but I had to correct myself and say it doesn't matter. they've backtracked about how serious Liverpool's interest in Werner is. They're trying to suggest that, they haven't made a decision yet as to whether to, and I don't believe that. And I think they knew that this interview was coming out, right? The club knew this interview was coming out because it originates from an interview. And people connected to this scenario and people watching it have been waiting for these new quotes to come out. And there may be more. And I think the club has maybe got a little bit of a whiff that, that he might say something or so. I think the club are maybe just like, we're not bothered anyway. So maybe that's a little bit of that going on. Jurgen Klopp doesn't take any prisoners. And I think that he will become tired of this. And, he could have talked himself out of a move. I don't think he has. I think we remain interested, if I'm completely honest with you. What else did I want to say with regards to that? Yes, on the KopTalk VIP members website, if you join this channel underneath this video, it says join. And if you become a VIP member or above, it's the middle tier or above, you can access the members website. If you're on the bottom tier, you can upgrade or whatever. But we have a members website as well, right? And only a few weeks ago, one of our contributors that most people listen to, who's got excellent contacts at the club, suggested that the recruitment team were looking at other targets. When we talk about Werner and we talk about Sancho and we talk about Havertz, this guy, he came out and he said the club are looking at 3 other individuals, and the discussion continued. That was in the scouting department. If you are a VIP member, go and have a look for it. If you are a VIP member and you can't find it, just ask in the shout box on the website, and I will see that today, and I'll try and point you in the right direction or explain what was previously said. So at the time that was said, I didn't really think much of it. I just thought, all right, okay, it makes sense to always have other options and things like that. But because of the time frame and when it was said, it's starting to look like that there may be something in that. And I've said to you, recently that when Werner started talking up Liverpool publicly, I said to you, I think there's something not right here. And that would suggest that maybe all right, what I said was, I've just remembered, right? I said, I think there's something not right here. And I asked, has Werner or someone associated to him upset Liverpool or Klopp somewhere along the lines? And I suggested that was why Werner had come out and was like, Liverpool, maybe trying to get to show that he was still interested in a move. Maybe Klopp had just backed off a little bit and said, do you know what? I having that. You know what I mean? I'm sick of being, try not to swear, messed around or whatever. And maybe that's why Klopp came out with those comments about, look, if you want to play for us, yeah, you got to fight for your players, simple as that. We want people who want to be a part of that. You've got no right to just be guaranteed this, that, and the other. So all of those things kind of make a little bit of sense to me, because I think there's something not being right with all of this. But I still think that there is a possibility that it might, go ahead. Now, yesterday we saw claims that Werner could be loaned back to Leipzig. So Liverpool could negotiate a deal with them and loan him back to them for a year. Now, in the news article on KopTalk.com and also on the podcast, on yesterday's podcast, I discussed this and I said, it doesn't sound right to me, that, because you usually do something like that, like the Naby Keita situation, that deal, for example, because you want to get ahead of other clubs and you want to strike a deal with the club that holds the player. And what makes it an incentive to them is that you'll say, well, look, we'll do a deal. We'll let you keep him for a bit longer. So agree, do a deal with us. Never mind them, and he can stay with you a bit. So the holding club goes, fantastic, good idea, right? There's attraction in that. There's incentive. However, if Liverpool, step up before the end of April and trigger his release clause, Liverpool don't need to negotiate anything with Leipzig unless we're missing something here. Because if a release clause is triggered, a club is powerless and the player is released. So why would we need to negotiate anything with Leipzig in terms of loaning him back? So that didn't make sense to me, and I mentioned that yesterday. However, I also said maybe, just maybe, the only thing that I can think of is about a loan here is that the player has said, look, I'm not really up for coming in at the moment. Maybe I'll come in next year when Salah goes. We expect the front three, if they are retained in the summer, hopefully for next season, there will be changes next year, guys. We've got to expect that because the players are touching 29, 30 in 2021 or whatever, and there could be a little bit of sense there. Like, look, I'll come next year, sort of thing. So I would understand that if the player was maybe saying, look, let's do something, let's get an agreement in place for the future. But I did say as well, I'm not sure that sounds right. But with his comments today talking about, do I want to stay at my team and make something great, he's suggesting he might stay where he is a little bit longer. So maybe the idea of striking a deal now and then him remaining with Leipzig for another year, when there would then become a vacancy or a position or freeing up a space at Liverpool in 2021. Is that right? Yes. Maybe that would make sense. So I welcome your feedback and thoughts on all of this. But you know what, guys? Any player that is like not sure whether he wants to play for Liverpool or not, he ain't for me. He's not for me. And I remember a story about Bill Shankly many, many years ago, decades ago, obviously, where he, went up to a player and said, "Do you want to play for a real football team, Sonny?" And this player is said to have replied to Shankly and said, "I'll have to speak to my agent. I don't know. I'll speak to my agent about it." And then Shankly replied, "Forget it." And was that Brendan Rodgers-esque then? Forget it. I don't know. But, basically Shankly said, fuck you then, you know what I mean? I swore. So if you don't show that you want to play for us, then just forget it. And that's why I think Klopp was saying them quotes last month. Do you know what I mean? We have these players, and whoever wants to join us needs to have exactly this kind of attitude. Players who want to be a part of this, who want to fight for their spot, who want to take the next step together with us, and who want to develop and improve. Those comments, they are absolutely aimed at Werner, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so that's it. I think I've touched on everything I wanted to say there. I'm not down with this attitude. I'm not down with a defeatist attitude. No, bullshit to that. Any situation where you're going into any job or anything, you're going in there with the attitude of, I'm going to excel, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to prove myself. And he's not doing that. He's wanting the lazy option. He thinks that he can go somewhere and, be the main man. Well, I'm sorry, this is Liverpool Football Club. You might have been able to do that a few years ago. That's why we signed Mario Balotelli. Things have changed now. So it's an honour to play for Liverpool Football Club, and I'm sure he thinks that. But when you start talking about, maybe Man United could be an option, or maybe Man City, and start putting names out there, other names, that to me, I don't like to hear. Do you know what I mean? So let me know your thoughts. And I think Klopp will think like that. I do. So for me, the claims that were made on the members' website a few weeks back about there being alternatives, it certainly is something now. All of it makes sense to me. That that if you follow my podcasts and my videos or my live streams or whatever, that I've been saying, something's not right with this and that. Do you know what I mean, guys? So it makes sense. It does make sense. A lot of it makes sense, I think. But I'll be honest with you, I still don't think that this has concluded. Credible sources, in the media and, people maybe not in the media, still expect Liverpool to do business for him. However, I think that there has to be, there is a time scale. Yeah, we're not going to wait till the end of April to decide what he wants to do. We've got plans. If you want to come in or not, stop in around. Do you know what I'm saying? What do you think? What do you think about these quotes? Is it no big deal? I don't know if any other quotes have come out. I think it is a big deal, some of his quotes, right? But I am also trying to explain to you that, it doesn't mean that... I'm just looking to see if there's any other news come out. It doesn't mean that our interest now immediately concludes. I just think that there's this big issue. Every single thing we've read about this kid since we've been linked with him, which seems like an eternity ago, all of it's been about, will I get game time? Fuck, who do you think you are? Do you know what I mean? Who do you think you are? It's perfectly fine to say, where will I fit in? What's going to happen? And if it suits Jurgen Klopp for him to come in later and he can do a deal now, that makes that's common sense. It makes sense. Brilliant. But don't start telling us that you're not sure whether you should go here or there. And stop being so defeatist in your own belief. You turn up and come to Liverpool, right, with them 3 forwards that we've got now, that attacking 9. You come in, you step in, do the business. You ain't going to get just dropped from the team. You're not Divock Origi. You know, I'm no disrespect to Divock Origi. Well, maybe a bit. But, you know, there is a difference here in quality. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, so... And let's be honest, Divock Origi ain't that great, guys. Don't be like sentimental over some important goals and stuff like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Rather have Eric Meyer in the side. So yeah, he's triggered me a little. Oh, fuck's sake, man! I said, this is what happens when you got all these bastard lights on here and a black top. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get the new Liverpool shirt this year. I'm getting a night top now. I can fit into one. Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna get one. Yeah. Alright, so anyway, let me know your thoughts. I hope I've addressed everything I wanted to say in that. See, I probably haven't explained it as well. You know what I'm like. There is a news article on www.KopTalk.com which sort of touches on what I'm trying to say. And I will address it on the KopTalk podcast this afternoon. Search KopTalk or Liverpool FC KopTalk on your podcast platform or app. If you don't have an app and you're like, I don't know what to do, just go on your Play Store or on the app, the App Store on your iPhone and just put in Pocket Casts, right? Pocket Casts with an S on the end. That's a really good free podcast app. Just download that to your phone. Search Liverpool FC KopTalk and Dunk Knows Best, and you'll be able to subscribe free to those two podcasts. And I will go over it again today, for sure, as Rafa would say. And I will discuss it this evening right here in a live stream if you want to join me for the Spurs game. Okay, guys? Thank you very much for watching the video. Please do thumbs up if you haven't already. And additionally, if you enjoy my content and you'd like to support me, just click on join under the channel and join, and become part of my squad. Alright? It's just like buying me a beer or a coffee once a month or something like that. Definitely need your support because YouTube keep blocking my videos and that, guys. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to be sat here all reserved. I want to be raging at this fucker with what he said now. Let me know your thoughts. I don't think it's off personally. I think there's still a chance it can happen, right? But patience will be wearing thin. That's what I think. Let me know your thoughts, guys, and I'll speak to you in a bit. All right.